At the Academy for Offensive Mages, there is only one thing everyone agrees on. There's simply no room for healers here. However, our MC sees things in a completely different way. Even though Will is the greatest healer around, he still signs up to go to this academy. They all think he's going to fail hard. One teacher even decides to prove it by setting up a fake fight. As soon as the fight begins, the teacher slams the ground with earth magic to trap Will, but Will zips away faster than ever, healing himself to dodge every single attack. The teacher nearly trapped him in the dirt, but Will dodges once more and then turns the tables. He rushes forward and stabs with his dagger. But the attack fails, and it doesn't work. The teacher buries himself under a thick layer of soil, convinced his weak healer friend can't possibly hurt him. But Will has a way to handle this. In this world, most mages hold back their true power because their bodies simply can't take the full force. Going beyond that limit makes your body start to fall apart. But if Will takes that limiter off, he can blast out enormous power, yet it might destroy his own body in the process. And he's totally okay with that because he's a healer at heart. Will lunges ahead, his fist packed with raw power. His arms break apart like glass as he blasts right through the teacher's rocky shield. The teacher doesn't even get a chance to react before he's knocked out cold. But why does a healer belong in this academy? Since everyone else failed and Will died because of it, here is exactly what happened last time. You might expect that doing your job well would make your bosses respect you, wouldn't you? Well, our boy is different. His boss literally stabs him for doing an amazing job. Will is just an ordinary guy until he discovers he can heal anything, no matter how bad the wound. He holds a power all by himself that no one else in the world has. He could fix even the worst injuries like they were nothing at all. Lost your arm? No big deal at all. Bro can make it stand tall again from that stump in just a few seconds. Right now, he stands shoulder to shoulder with the very last soldiers holding the line against a horde of demons commanded by their dark lords. The same powerful forces that are destroying Grandeld are causing all this ruin. The soldiers are fighting with everything they've got to push back the demons that have already ruined the rest of the world. Our boy has never fought a battle, so now he must heal the wounded and pull them back from the edge of death. But let's face it, those humans are no match for the scary monsters rising straight out of hell. That is why the soldiers keep coming back missing limbs while our boy tries to heal them. But eventually, they just get tired of fighting and getting hurt again and again. They face their cruel fate and are now done for. They'd sooner fall fighting than drag this out any longer. That's exactly why our boy got stabbed by his captain. The captain knows that Will can't truly understand the pain and terror soldiers feel when they have to go back to the battlefield. In the end, the broken soldiers give up and run, letting the giant beasts tear through what's left of their kingdom. Will watches in horror as everyone dies right in front of him while his home crumbles around him. Looking up at that huge dragon, he finally understood the terrible fear the soldiers had lived with. That was the exact moment his greatest strength turned into his biggest regret. If only he had the courage to stand on the battlefield, he could have saved all the people around him. Driven by an urgent need to protect his home, Bro snatches a small rock and runs straight at the dragon. Of course, his silly plan to take on a huge dragon with just a rock ends with him getting crushed. But as expected, he suddenly wakes up finding himself nearly 5 years in the past. Just as he became the world's greatest healer, a title he would soon come to hate, he earned it. Refusing to make the same mistakes again, he chooses to attend an academy for offensive magic, specifically enrolling at Schwartz Academy, a school built entirely for fighting. In a world where healing magic and offensive spells can never mix, Will defies the rule to finally master both powers he once failed at in a past life. He intends to use his past lessons to teach himself how to heal and fight alone. To really get the ball rolling, he has to sign up for the Schwartz Academia, the most famous school in the entire world. It's said that this academy takes promising young students and turns them into powerful mages who can cast amazing spells. And don't forget that the most skilled battle mage Will ever knew in his past life also graduated from this very academy. But there's a problem. Will, a mage with a gift for healing, can't just walk into the Schwartz Academy the way wealthy nobles who pay a huge fortune to send their dull-witted children there do. But our boy is broke right now, and even with his healing skills, he won't have enough money saved up by the time the enrollment deadline hits. As he struggles with his problem, his sister walks into the room. When he sees her alive, his eyes fill with tears. Seeing him tear up, she thinks his stomach hurts, so he quickly wipes his eye and lies, saying something just poked it. Inside, he struggles so hard not to show just how happy he is to see his sister alive. He promises to shield her from the disaster that ruined her life before, and this time, he won't leave anyone else he failed to save behind. All at once, a brilliant thought lit up in his mind. It looks like he's finally found his way forward. But first, let me tell you a bit about the Magic Academy Federation, the group that watches over every magic user in the kingdom, making sure they all follow the rules and learn the right spells. Right now, the head of the Federation is also the boss of Schwartz Academy. For some strange reason, the chairman has completely stopped watching over the Federation. Suddenly, it all made sense. He had to deal with his sick granddaughter, Marie. By the way, this doting grandpa's name is Arnlum Goldran, who leads the Magic Academy Federation and runs Schwartz Academy. The old man promised his girl he'd find a healing magician strong enough to free her from her misery. But in his past life, the chairman's granddaughter died because he couldn't find a strong enough magician to save her. That's exactly why my guy sneaks right into the chairman's granddaughter's room. Luckily, our boy doesn't even need to introduce himself to the chairman, who already knows all about the scholarship student from Hillig. After all, the chairman knows Will is a healing genius famous across the kingdom, so he can't stand to see such a talented boy acting like a sneaky thief. Will admits inside that he was right, because without his past life, he would never have dared to step into someone else's private world. But then again, skipping the formalities is the only way they can survive right now. He had to jump right in, because no one else could fix her but him. The old man knows there's always a cost, so he wants the young man to see right through his plans. Will insists we must act now, because saving her life is more important than any deal. Finally, the old man gives his okay, and our boy gets what he needs. He sits by her bedside, ready to fix her sickness. But the old man's piercing stare locks onto our boy, warning that any single mistake will mean his game is over. Will takes a deep breath, ready to make a mess, and begins his healing magic, only to realize his mana pool is much smaller than it was in his past life. What truly counts is that he remembers the healing spells perfectly and can cast them without a single mistake. Finally, after a long time, the granddaughter opens her eyes. The very first thing she sees is the prince who saved her life, and he looks so charming. She gets so embarrassed, she turns over on her side. Meanwhile, Grandpa can't believe his eyes that his grandchild has truly come back from being in a coma. The girl confirms she's coming back, and says she hasn't felt this good in years. The doting Grandpa's eyes filled up with happy tears. The heavy worries that had pressed him down for so long are finally gone, and it's all thanks to our boy. Soon after, the two men relaxed together in the living room. Once the old man said thank you, he promised to grant whatever wish our boy wanted. Will promises he's asking for nothing crazy, since the chairman can easily grant his wish, especially when it's common knowledge that Will is the strongest healer around with no room left to grow. That's exactly why he wants to try a new skill and sign up for Schwartz Academy. The old man thinks it's silly to leave what you know best to try something new, but since he already promised, he's going to keep that promise. He shakes the young man's hand and promises to keep his side of the deal. Deep within the academy, a teacher who seems mean is checking over our boy's enrollment file. He thinks the chairman is crazy for signing up a healer who can't fight at all into a combat school. Finally, the day of the entrance ceremony arrives, and all the new students gather inside the academy's big hall. Up on the pedestal, the chairman stands there to pitch and polish his institute. Schwartz Academy is a boarding school where students live and learn the art of offensive magic on a huge campus filled with many training grounds. And everything only gets even better with its fancy research labs and giant library, making it truly stand out. Because these top graduates stay active and help out even after leaving school, the kingdom can offer all kinds of support to them. If I had to sum it up, no other place offers this unique chance to dive deep into the secrets of dark magic. Don't forget that our boy is just a new healer walking into an academy like no other, so his road ahead will be full of trouble. But my guy is ready to tackle whatever comes his way, as long as he becomes the offensive mage he wants to be. But the truth usually turns out very different from what we hope for. As the first class begins right after the entrance ceremony, Will is sweating bullets while trying to hit a target with a fire magic spell. He somehow manages to light a fire spell, but it dies out the moment it shows up. This isn't the first time it's happened, especially since his teacher is a bully who picks on our boy by using his weakness to make him hit a dummy just to stay in class. Until he can do it, he has to keep training in the grounds on the other side of the school. Will demands that his teacher teach him the basics first, or he'll never learn it right. It was obvious right away that our teacher secretly resented our boy because he thought training a healer was a waste of time. Will begs the bastard for just a peek at the library books to learn something, but the guy just laughs in his face, calling him a healer and saying there's no reading material for someone like him. Seeing his chance, a smug blonde guy blasts the healer with dark magic spells until Will falls to the ground. The poor guy was completely caught off guard by the sudden attack, but the bully saw it as just another chance to exploit the healer's weakness. He proudly shouts about the academy's tough reputation, telling anyone like Will who dares to join or run away. And for the first time, I see the teachers teaming up with the bully to push the student around. The two dogs walked past like he was nothing but dirt under their paws. That night, our boy sat at the bench, completely drained. His attempts at mastering offensive magic have all fallen flat, because he knew healing and attacking magic pull energy from two completely different places. Mana is the power of the mind, a mage's ultimate weapon that he awakens by speaking ancient formulas. Mana moves exactly where the caster wants it to go. Healers hold calm mana, but the Schwartz Academy excels at turning that peace into explosive power, giving him a way to refine his magic for offense. Will is convinced he can finally turn his useless static mana into powerful dynamic mana, but a terrible teacher won't let him even go to class to try. Will won't stop trying until he finds the one person from his past life who helped him. Even though he's facing pain for her sake, he realizes he can't just keep going blindly and starts looking for a better way. Suddenly, a familiar voice stops him for staying out so late. When Will gazes at this person, he sees Veronica, a fierce warrior who once fought right beside him. She was the most powerful magic attacker he'd ever met. In the tragic war of the old timeline, he lost her, but in this new timeline where time flows backward, she is alive again, until she suddenly pulls out a sword that can cut anything, revealing herself as a fierce warrior who combines the power of Gojo and Sukuna. The sight of her pointing that sword at him isn't exactly a happy one, but it turns out she's hunting for a suspicious student on campus, and she starts to wonder if Will is that same troublemaker. Our boy quickly explains he's not that kind of guy, because if she attacks him, he'll need another magic truck ride to get back to his adventure world. She believes him, which calms him down, so he asks to make sure she is really Veronica. The woman feels insulted and shocked by his casual way of speaking to teachers, which brings her shame, even though he knows from his past life that she isn't as much older than him as he thought. It turns out she's a genius who skipped grades and became a professor instantly, which makes perfect sense given her god-tier talent. This is the chance Will has been waiting for, like a shooting star, finally giving him the power to learn offensive magic. Will decides to take Veronica's class because she is his only chance left. He asks how to sign up, but she instantly says no, claiming she has no classes ready because, as a new teacher who just moved up from many others, she doesn't know how things work here yet. For this year, Veronica is an assistant instructor meant to help students her own age, but no one ever comes to ask her for help. Our kid knows exactly why she's so short-tempered because this woman pulls out her murder weapon at the slightest inconvenience, which he sees as the perfect chance to exploit Veronica without even having to take her classes, since he can just have her teach him privately instead. Knowing she must answer, he bluntly asks how a healer can learn offensive magic, and Veronica instantly recognizes him not as a normal student, but as the infamous freshman from Schwartz Academy, whose strange magic flow she can sense. After all her years, she admits she's never seen a normal healer try to learn offensive magic. But the best thing about Schwartz is that its academy teaches a way to grow something called dynamic mana. That foundation is the perfect launch pad for our boy, and when Veronica confirms it exists, Will's excitement skyrockets because he suddenly sees a real chance. One small hiccup. This woman bluntly tells him his stubborn self will never learn offensive magic, which leaves our boy stunned, especially since Veronica points out that he already has way too much raw magic energy. Even if he tries to build dynamic mana from the ground up, most of it will just melt back into static mana anyway, and if he tries a different way to grow it, mixing those two kind will leave him unable to cast any offensive spells. Reality feels pretty dark now, because after Bro made his move, he realized there's absolutely no way for a normal healer to learn how to cast offensive spells. Will is starting to regret not having an instruction manual after Truck Hunt messed everything up, but he refuses to quit even if it means becoming a genius and inventing a brand new way to fix it. After thanking the assistant professor, he was just about to walk away when Veronica suddenly stopped him to make sure she finished her point. She explains that while healers normally can't fight, there's a rare trick that could let them cast offensive spells, leaving the guy completely baffled since he can't even wrap his head around that idea. Veronica proves her point by pulling out her custom-carved iron sword, a deadly blade ready to slice through any foe. She then points out the wooden bench they can sit on, which is like the smooth-brained professor pointing out that water is wet and floors are made of floor. But then the plot takes a wild turn when she lifts the heavy bench and explains that even if you use it to knock someone out cold, it's still just a weapon, leaving Will wondering how this muscle mommy manages to hoist it with what look like noodle arms, while she insists that even if something is made for one purpose, you can use it however you like. To make her point clear, she pats his face until he turns red, then flicks his cheek to show how she just used her hand for two tricks at once, a fantasy most men would kill to see. She ends up knocking him out way too hard, but the point stays the same, even though the words are used differently. Will opens his eyes and starts wondering if he can use his healing magic to hurt his enemies. He never once thought about it, not even for a second. The two groups of mages fight over the special energy that flows through them differently. But to Veronica, this kid feels different from everyone else. She's shocked he's stepping into an offensive magic academy, and his mana proves he's far more than just a healer. Will didn't even notice this thing himself, which made him wonder if Truck Cohen gave him that power. She presses her blade against his throat and tells him to wake up and let the fierce fire burn inside his heart. If he takes that step, he'll become unstoppable and wipe out anyone who gets in his way. The very next day, our boy sits with the words his teacher shared yesterday, letting them settle in his mind. She used many examples to prove her point, leaving him stunned that she doesn't doubt regular healers, and even inventing a sensible theory on the spot, until an instructor rudely interrupts him by calling her a healer. Today's class is special because he can join the others in a bunch of one-on-one battles. Whether he can fire off spells is up to him to figure out. The scumbag teacher has finished picking teams and, without a doubt, matched our boy up with the same blonde jerk from earlier. Our boy doesn't want to face Opulpus, since that kid comes from a famous noble academy with everyone backing him. He's a fun kid to be around, but don't let that fool you. He's actually a mighty warrior who wields fire and lightning to tear through his enemies. Puss is already acting like he won and is mocking our guy, asking if he'll run back to his mom after getting beaten up. Our boy is doing his absolute best to stay calm and not get angry at this fool. Even though he knows he's fighting a kid from the future, he can't stop getting angry. The best part is that Will wants to see if Veronica's idea works in real life. So he joins in the fight with excitement, grabs the professor's attention, and refuses to give up. Instead, our boys received a proposal explaining that he has no talent for offensive magic and that trying to use it here would be a waste of time. This raises the stakes because he has declared he'll quit Schwartz Academy if he loses the match. The professor is thrilled by those words, but the catch is that if our boy wins, he gets to take regular classes. It's an insulting offer, but Opulpus is so arrogant he laughs in Will's face, dismissing the idea of a victory as completely ridiculous and calling Will a fool for thinking he has any chance of winning while stuck on Dulu Island. The instructor finally gives in to his frustration and agrees to the plan, ordering both fighters to take their spots. He waves his hand as the match begins, and with a calm spell, he unleashes a powerful offensive attack. He suddenly brings a circle of glowing daggers into the world. This is his specialty, a kind of magic where he creates knives, much like a Walmart version of Gilgamesh wielding tiny swords as weapons. He throws every dagger he can at Will, yelling that a terrible healer can't defend himself. Our boy strikes a perfect Buddha pose out here, all set to unleash his domain expansion. The instant he turns his power on, he moves as fast as the flying daggers and slips past them all in one quick jump. He uses a trick called life manipulation to boost the health of living things near him to the max, but he can also turn it into an attack. Opulpus panics and yells that it was just a terrible accident. But our boy is still farming aura in that exact same pose. He grabs Walmart, Gilgamesh's dagger, and slashes the rest with a flashy move from Shiro Emiya. The weapons are failing and haven't managed to scratch a single thing yet. But our boy has only just begun, and with a single dagger, he plans to end this fight. The crowd is completely baffled because the idea of a healer fighting back makes no sense to them. In truth, Will has only used healing spells as weapons, never casting a single attack of his own. Opulus is stuck in a tight grip and loudly claims he's been holding back. Yet Bro just keeps adding more knives to the pile until Opulus throws a shower of golden daggers at the healer in rage, only for our hero to easily slice through each and every one of them. By the time his defense ends, they are all lying broken on the ground. He still thinks he's the best, so he makes his tiny knife bigger, but that weird angle looks suspicious to me. Will knows that battling Opulpus is a real struggle because the villain's magic talent is just too strong. To make his attack deadlier, Opus spins his dagger like a missile and hurls it right at our boy. Bro used Sukuna's fire arrow furnace technique, but Will blocked it anyway. He can't steal any more tricks from other shows and just roars in frustration, while our boy thinks he needs to slowly get stronger. With a simple flick, Opus barely catches the deadly flying rock, leaving him staring in shock. Just as he can't move, Will zips behind him using Goku's instant transmission and vows to heal him once this is over. Then he charges to strike the killing blow, but the instructor steps in and raises a towering wall of earth to block him. The instructor thinks the match is done and tells the two of them to step aside for the next pair. The proud noble feels humbled by his defeat, while Will is thrilled to finally join regular classes and leaves his grumpy instructor frustrated. With the fight over, he sprints away, his mind replaying every moment of the battle. Finally, he forged his own spell that was strong enough to defeat a great mage. Everything they achieved is thanks to Veronica leading the way. The instructor steps in to help the loser douchebag. Opulus begs his teacher not to tell his dad about the match. Both of them are die-hard Reddit haters who simply can't accept defeat. But the next scene finds Will back in the classroom to take classes and sharpen his skills with attack magic. The instructor walks into the room, glances at Will, and then begins the class. So far, his classes have been simple, with one teacher in charge of everything. Will finds the magical tool class the most exciting, and it reminds him of something he learned at the Healing Academy. Today's lesson is all about how to make ice bombs. The instructor will pass out the supplies so the students can put them together and get them ready. Will remembers that he only ever fixed things back in his past life, but now at the Fighting Academy, they expect him to craft weapons for battle. The mana you need for this job must be dynamic, but when it comes to creating something new, the type of mana doesn't matter a single bit. That's why Will has no trouble managing his huge amount of static mana. When he checks the items, he finds pieces of an ice golem and some broken branches with fire in them. He mixes the fragment as told, but then suddenly, everything changes in a flash. Will throws the ice shard through his enhanced body, causing it to burst open and leave behind jagged spikes of frozen ice. Our boy is feeling pretty proud, but that little stun of his is the ultimate disrespect to his class, so the instructor scolds him and says he's taking points off Will's grade. The other bullies laugh, especially Opus, who is clearly plotting with the teacher. Next, Will steps into a class right around the corner that explores magical creatures. As the instructor stressed that low-tier students listen closely, he got a cute salamander. Our boy feels a bit shy because a magical creature is standing right next to him. This tiny death machine shoots a stream of fire, but Will dodges it. Truthfully, that was just something our boy made up so much so that he even drew the instructor's attention and got his favorite pot taken away. Things are turning bad, and Will is finally starting to understand what's really happening. The instructor lets him into the class, but he's really just messing with him in every single one. This means he can't learn, so he's got to step up and fix things himself. From the shadows, a strange student watches him, knowing exactly how the rules really work. The bullying never stopped, forcing Will to defend himself against not just the mean students, but also the teacher's silly questions that wiped out his score. Even after the lessons were over, he kept finding piles of trash left scattered all over his room. When he tried to talk to the supervisor about the problem, the supervisor only made things worse by taking away his dinner, leaving him feeling completely roasted on all sides. He falls to the floor in his room, realizing this academy is filled with people who want him to fail. Just as he took a hopeful step forward, a mountain of new trouble forced him to turn around and fight again. Will knows his steady pace is working perfectly and refuses to let the bullies ruin his day. The real triumph was that he took on one of them, won the fight, and finally proved he could be the attack mage he always dreamed of. Will remembers buying his textbook with a smile, ready to tackle his homework and study with a fresh, positive mindset. The next day dawns, and he finds himself absolutely shocked to see no teachers or even a single soul around. The instructor arrives on time, but with only one student nearby, it feels like some folks just haven't heard about the surprise schedule change yet. Frustrated, Will gets up to finally talk to the girl. He steps closer and startles her with his sudden arrival. Our boy is just wondering if the classes got changed overnight, and he's sure this is about that. The instructor is fed up with some students, and you are one of them, so both of you are doomed. She feels it's right for two lonely kids who get pushed around to get along, and Will feels her fear but reaches out a happy hand to say he wants to be her friend. The girl is so shocked, she lowers her head in total respect for him. Erica Glenn is the first friend Will has made at his new school. She believes it's perfectly normal for him to be alone since he started classes late, and he's a healer. Erica points out that people always say healers are weak and pathetic, which truly shocks Will. Even though she's an offensive mage, she doesn't like bragging about her friends. Will realizes that the deep hatred healers face is just how Schwartz Academy works, since the brave mages fighting at the front naturally look down on those healing from the back. Even in his past life, Will was the kingdom's famous healer with a solid reputation, but at this attack academy, the rules are totally different. If Will doesn't fight back, the academy's cruel discrimination will swallow him whole. Erica asks him why he decided to join the academy. Will gathers his thoughts and tells them he won't accept being born a healer, so he's going to the front lines instead. His reason shakes her, but Will explains that he has his own private reasons, while Erica turns out to be from a small noble family in the countryside. Without any sons to carry on the name, the family saw their line dying out, so she decided to become a mighty attack mage and seize the family's leadership through her own power and fame. To Will, it makes perfect sense to want that. But Erica has no magic talent at all, no friends to hang out with, and she gets picked on by other kids in class. Luckily, She's happy to have found a friend in our boy, who she calls an underachiever because he comforts her even when her grades are low, and while her brother is getting into trouble everywhere, she's just joking around. He tells her Erica's time will soon be here, and then will lead her to the real classroom without saying much more. They finally reach the real classroom, but the teacher is ready to mark them as late, just like she always is. I'm sorry we missed the sudden class change, but this jerk is so stubborn he won't even forgive us. To punish Will, he chooses to give him another question to whip himself with. Erica knows our boy skipped most classes, so this bad news means he won't know a thing. Will studies the board and figures out the puzzle in his head, knowing his teacher will take away points if he gets it wrong. Albus mocks the Wills around him, aware that he is about to fail. Our boy gets so focused that he grabs the chalk and scribbles so hard that every single word catches the whole class's attention. Even Opulpus thinks this is just a show-off attempt. Will finally finds the right setup, making the magic circle glow on the board. He blew everyone's mind so hard that even his terrible instructor was left speechless. The teacher had to agree it was the right answer, leaving Opulpus and Erica shocked. There's no way the new kid could have figured out the answer, even though he missed every single class. Right after that annoying class, Erica couldn't stop asking how he figured out the question, but Will just smiled and said it was super easy because he'd learned the trick right there in the textbook. He had read the textbook, so he knew exactly what to expect. What really blows her mind is that this guy read the whole book in one wild, crazy night. We read it just once, raced through the whole book, and called it one of the greatest stories ever about offensive magic. Though he could read the detailed notes on both basic and powerful magic, the words felt like a heavy burden without some spark of true understanding to bring them to life. The best part about Will was that he was naturally smart, so he could handle everything without getting stressed, even mastering offensive magic in one night just by reading it like a fun story. You find it funny, but Erica is getting pretty scared. The book he mastered is the Academy's terrifying legend that no one can read without the teacher's help, and she's now regretting her first guess that he was a loser while realizing she's the only one truly at the bottom. So she begs him not to leave her behind in the lowest ranks as he promises to teach her anything she struggles with. After all, they've always been best friends in the same class. Erica beams a happy smile, feeling glad to have his help. Truth is, our boy came here to chase his goals, not just to be best friends with power, but since he's on his own, he'll need Erica to help him. He asked her to help him pass a tough magic class he's always failed, which stopped him from taking other lessons. And Erica is sure he'll finally succeed now that he defeated Albus. But the truth is, while he can't cast powerful spells like everyone else, he has a brilliant idea to make up for it. He can't win without Erica stepping up to help him get the job done. In the next scene, the students have regrouped in the training grounds. When it comes to offensive magic, you can choose between common spells that many know or rare ones that only a few can master. General magic is just spells written out clearly in a formula, so anyone can learn and use them. Unlike the spells people usually learn, special magic like Opulpus's ability to craft knives grows from inside the user himself. The Academy offers classes to help students sharpen their offensive magic skills, and since unique magic doesn't guarantee the right answer, this is the perfect and easiest way for our boy to join in and win. His teacher knows he can't learn offensive magic, so she acts like he's a genius while secretly hoping he'll fail the practical test because he can't even use basic spells. The instructor insists that this assignment is just another chance to hit the target, exactly like every time before. Once again, he belittles Will by calling the job so simple that failing it would mean he never graduates. The instructor pauses to remember how the boy used healing magic for attacks, and noticed how it boosts the body's overall strength. But here, Will can't throw spells around to hurt anyone. He just wants to send this kid running until the kid has to quit the class. But our boy stays put and just smiles at the whole thing. The instructor is blown away as he sees Will's hand wrapped in fire, unable to understand how a kid could cast such impossible magic. But don't get tricked, because that's just our hero playing a sneaky game. His whole plan depends on Erica making the fireball with her own special magic. Then, he dropped the glowing fireball deep into the salamander's tail. Next, Will gently uses his own healing power to fan the flames back into his hand, just like Gojo Satoru does to keep his limitless working. It was endless healing, yet Erica still doubted him and wondered what kind of man he really was, unaware that he was once the greatest healer in the world. He stopped the healing spell right after opening his hand, making it look like he just popped a fireball out of his palm. Next is the simple bit where he fires a shot right at the target and hits the bullseye, knocking it down. The instructor bro shakes like a leaf because his student has made him look foolish again. The trick was so convincing that he's completely sure Will threw an offensive spell. This gets Erica a perfect score and her cheering, while leaving the crowd completely puzzled. Above all, Opulpus is furious. Once class is over, he goes straight to the teacher to get the answer. Neither Will nor Puss knows what's happening, since it makes no sense for Will to suddenly know offense magic, while Puss is so angry about his loss that he's threatening to tell his dad to ban the healer. Even the teacher is shocked by his strength, but the proud noble storms off, ordering the instructor to do whatever it takes to get rid of the healer from the class. Now that the shady teacher is in trouble because breaking the rules could get him caught, he's trapped since he spent so much time earning a spot at the academy and can't afford to lose it. After weighing the dangers, the instructor decides to take a huge gamble and get rid of the healer who wants to mark his name on their academy. The big brother gets fed up with the 15-year-old student and finally decides to handle it himself. Once the other trainees had gone, the instructor called Will away to speak with him alone. Bro threatens our boy, but Will thinks it's a compliment and is too dense to see the danger he's in. The instructor tells us he's ready to bring that kid back down to earth after he skipped so many of his first lessons at the academy. It's not the boy's fault at all, since this teacher was the one who wouldn't even let him sign up for those classes in the first place. Will retorts that he's already mastered the material on his own, so there's no need to worry. This teacher is acting like a tyrant, not caring at all because he insists this new lesson is vital for Will. He makes all the choices for the lesson since he is the teacher. Now, they will join in a real practice fight. Will feels it's strange to fight a teacher for no reason, so the instructor agrees it's unfair and lets Will win with just one hit. With this advantage, the instructor expects the boy to stay relaxed and not treat the fight like a real battle. This clown was so sure he couldn't lose that he never even thought about it. Our boy is deep in thought, trying to figure out what's going on. The kid agrees to the duel's rules, much to the teacher's delight. The fight starts right away as the instructor summons a spell from the earth to strike. Luckily, Will knows his teacher's fighting style and dodges the first strike because he knows the guy uses earth magic. But that same strike suddenly grows a dick, forcing him to dodge again. Will gets pummeled by a barrage of blows, but he slips away with perfect timing. The teacher laughs at Will for dodging over and over, but Will is stuck dealing with a never-ending flood of annoying earth magic that can spam attacks from way out there, unlike Alpus. Just as things are happening, Bro isn't done and goes into a wild, instinctive rage with every single punch he lands. Will closes the gap and charges at his teacher, who fires up his earth magic to slice a wall open on both sides and slam it shut, trapping the boy in a stone sandwich. At first, the move looks like a total disaster until the guy realizes his student is diving from the sky with a dagger in hand. This is his only chance, so Will drives the dagger home and shatters his teacher's skull. But sadly, this man had already crafted a tough armor to stop the blow. The student quickly dodges the instructor's next hit and steps back to gain some space. This tiny snake mocks his student as weak and shows off his unbeatable iron armor, but even Will thinks the name sounds terrible. As his teacher sneers at his fake attack spell, he belittles and mocks the students for even dreaming of becoming an attack mage. But the humble student confidently tells his instructor that healing magic let him study the human body so closely, he realized most people hold back their strength just to save lives, not to kill. Their own bodies can't withstand their full power, and pushing past that limit will only make them fall apart. The instructor feels insulted because Will is acting all superior while lecturing him, but the kid's point is actually pretty simple. If you can break the limits of a human body, you can unleash incredible power, but the price is that your body will tear itself apart. Luckily for Will, being a healer means he's ready to go all out like Isuka Midoriya, even if it means shattering his own arms in the process. The instructor is stunned by the boy's determination as he calmly walks up to his teacher, who still thinks his weird armor won't work. Deku readies his Texas smash, only to realize he's mixing up stories once more. His teacher screams in horror as Will punches right through his armor. Bro doesn't just break the armor. He leaves his face looking more battered than Jake Paul did against Anthony Joshua. Will gently tells his instructor not to decide a student's future and feels warm remembering Veronica's guidance, knowing she is the only reason he can tap into his healing magic to become much stronger. But just as he gets lost in thought, the instructor sneaks up and smashes another earth column into him. He dodges in time, but the instructor's rage is far from cooled. Will couldn't believe the sudden attack hit him even after he passed the test, and his instructor kept insisting no witnesses saw the healing mage actually strike. He won't admit he lost to that annoying healer and instead dumps more earth magic onto our boy. Will is running out of patience with this guy's I make the rules attitude. Thanks to his removed limits, he can rocket ahead and blast past him once more. The instructor was so stunned by Will's sudden rush and his heavy fist coming down that he couldn't even try to block it. Not even his silly armor will show up in time to stop that big punch. But just before his face could be caved in, the punch came to a sudden halt. It feels like time has stopped moving completely, Will's punch lands hard on the instructor's face, humiliating him as he deals with the sharp pain. That slow, shameful punch hurts worse than taking the final blow. This time, he can't run or scream for help. The scene is so funny because one tiny punch takes up half the comic strip. Will finally pushes hard and sends the man flying until he crashes down onto the ground. All along, the healer had been pulling off another of his clever tricks. He calls the instructor back to reality, saying only a moment passed in the real world, and unlike the teacher who never explains what happened, he shares everything properly. First, as Will threw his punch, he cast a spell to make his fist look like something else. This spell was meant to fix weak eyesight, but lately our boy has been using it in fights to move faster and react quicker. He can turn this power against an enemy, frying their nerves so badly that a split second feels like a whole minute. This makes the attack feel even worse, like a brutal and torturous beating. Will finally gives his teacher a big smile and asks if he can pass the class now. Before the snobby instructor can even reply, Bro grabs his shoulder and warns him that he's about to wipe out every last bit of the teacher's prejudice against the healer. That gentle healer now looks like a scary monster king, warning that if anyone interrupts his fun lessons again, bad things will happen to them. Will ends his speech with a bright smile, bringing their meeting to a close. That night, the instructor walked around in a panic, wondering just what kind of monster he had stumbled upon. He once thought all healing mages were weak and just followed orders from the frontline mages. But this guy is a whole different story, packing knockout punch skills and a cold, deadly hunger that makes him truly dangerous. By pure chance, he bumps into the blonde punk, who can't wait to hear about the training session's results. Snickers thought his boy was dead, but then the boy was shut up like a quiet dog. After finishing his talk about his special friend, the instructor warns the noble not to get involved in the fight against Will. They did it for everyone's sake, but their biggest mistake was thinking Will was just an ordinary healer. Pulpus jumps at the advice and mentions his father's threat again, but the instructor stands there without a single flicker of fear. It basically tells the blonde punk to go complain to his daddy all he wants because, in truth, if Alpus had all of this influence, he could have easily eliminated the healer by now. The Omen family ignores Pulpus's orders, but they know for sure that messing with the new kid will destroy them all in the end. He's left furious and can't believe the situation has gone this far. After that incredible beatdown, a few days went by and class had just finished. Will relaxes as he feels the blonde, noble acting careful around him, no longer pulling tricks or making comments. This way, our boy can finally focus on his classes, but he's still not happy with how things are going. Right now, his main goal is to change the future where humanity faces destruction. The only path to escaping such a dark fate is to grow stronger. Even though his healing magic boosts his body, he is still stuck using only simple strength attacks. Sensory tricks are a neat party trick, but nothing compares to the real punch of offensive magic, and Will knows he has to invent an entirely new way to fight just to keep up. He shares his thinking with Professor Veronica, asking for her help once more, even though his plan needs work, because she has something else to say first. He fears her words, but she surprises him by praising everything he has accomplished. Thanks to his help, the teachers can't stop talking about the healer mage who is already fighting alongside the academy's best students. Though some teachers looked unhappy about his progress, he kept moving forward anyway. Veronica has kept her secret to herself, never telling anyone she helped him grow, and she can't even brag about it to the teachers who just look right through her, because they think being special is a flaw, even for them. Our boy feels a huge weight lift off his shoulders, knowing this path keeps him safe and honors the girl who guided him all the way here. The professor shakes her head in disbelief and admits she's actually thankful for him. Just as she mentioned, healing mages never attempt to turn their theories into reality. She grabs her sword again, and since she really enjoys it, she challenges our boy to a duel. Will is totally surprised by Veronica's move. She wants to see how strong he really is. It's the best way to make him tougher, but he's not ready and panics when the enemy suddenly charges at him. She suddenly shows up in front of him to slash him down, but Will manages to block the blow right at the last second. He struggles to keep his weapon from breaking as she swarms him with endless slashes. Even after using every last boost and sprinting as fast as he could, he still couldn't catch up to her. Veronica isn't just fast, she's pure lightning, swinging her sword with such grace that in a long fight, Will be the first to give up. Will takes the heavy hits to remember he has only one chance to stun her with his speed, limit-breaking dash. This way, he'll catch her off guard, charging ahead with wild speed, and just as the blade is about to strike her face, she reacts instantly and slashes his weapon apart before it can hit her. The fight is done, and even with Will trying his hardest, he just couldn't stand up to the warrior's amazing skill. Veronica showed off her excitement because she knew he couldn't trick her like that, especially since she had used a magic sword to stop him before. For once, she thought he was a healer who could fight, but this boy is different because his skills are so high he doesn't even feel excited anymore. She fully supports his drive to get stronger, knowing that growing mightier isn't the end of his journey. Will admits he's trying to unlock his body's full power, but his professor says that's not enough, comparing magic to a sword that must be used for more than just swinging, while Will's lack of real battle experience leaves him without the instinct to truly fight. Even while they fought, Will spotted a small trick she was using. After understanding her advice, Will asks if he should practice more mock battles against the professor, and while Veronica approves of the idea, she suggests he join a monster subjugation training mission instead. The boy is stunned, finally facing a real-life battle where life hangs in the balance. He joined the same competition held across the 3 lands of Schwartz, Hillock, and Zilburn, where students train in offense, defense, and swordplay to obey their master's orders. So while he usually stays out of missions at Heich Academy, this time he's ready to hunt down terrifying monsters and grow strong enough to face the coming disaster. Will loses his courage just before his very first mission to conquer others. Veronica watches him with interest as she reminds him that he must prove his skills in the exam, especially with rumors of a prodigy running around the first years. Will decides he needs to get the top spot over his classmates, so he asks everyone about the exam details. The only rule is that the volunteers will fight each other, so out of 100 skilled people, the very best will rise to the top. Even our boy is getting tired of the school's nonstop focus on fighting, and while a few volunteers at Heich Healing Academy could just jump in to help, Schwartz Academy has a completely different deal with a strict selection process. Will closes his eyes and thinks back to the sunny days at the Healing Academy, worrying about how his old master is doing now. Veronica returns to talking about a student who is so gifted he outshines some of the instructors, which means Will won't easily grab that top job and makes him wonder if the assistant professor has ever met him. Unfortunately, she's never met him because he hates showing up to teachers, thinks he's better than them, and won't even ask her questions since he finds her scary. Veronica promises Will she'll help him study for the exam, which lifts his spirits since she's his only hope of getting better. We fast forward to the day of the big test. Will steps into the arena, showing that a lot of time has passed since then. He feels bolder than ever now that everything is ready. While he's mixing with the crowd, a familiar voice suddenly calls out his name. That's Arn Lum, the chairman of the Magic Academy Alliance. The principal is thrilled to share that his little granddaughter has been getting better and better ever since he healed her. Even though the boy saved the chairman's grandchild's life, the chairman still felt bad and apologized for not taking care of him properly. Will admits he struggled at first, but now he fits right in without any trouble. He set his sights on winning first place at the selection exam, a goal so impressive that the chairman can't help but admire him. Just as they are talking, a party-spoiling instructor crashes in and calls Will's word to joke. He's sure this little guy is way too scared of his class. And by the way, Bode is the one in charge of the field training. Will was actually surprised to find out that he had already met this guy in a past life. They called Bode the Violet Lightning because he was a hero who did amazing things during the Great War. Bad luck, those two never hit it off, and now they're doing the same thing again. The brooding, tough mage scares the healer by bragging that the world is full of fighting geniuses, making his own hard training look like nothing more than a tiny pebble. He spoke straight to Will's face, telling him the kids had no chance of winning as a healer. The boys stay silent as the chairman urges them to settle their argument after the exam, while the instructor scolds the boy and claims that Sirius from his class is the one who will truly win. This young man is a real-life copy-paste from Genshin Impact, a prodigy everyone admires with high hopes, and the very rival our hero is fated to face for the top spot in the selection exam. The chairman can't stop smiling as the competitors stare each other down in an intense battle. Without wasting a moment, the hopefuls rush into the arena, surrounded by a roaring crowd eager for a legendary fight. Will and Erica sit in the front second row, where the healer looks shocked at her joining in, but she has no choice since if she doesn't participate, she'll lose her academy allowance. Even Opulpus is watching our hero from a distance, as the chairman gives his official congratulations to the surviving candidates and whispers his hope that the strongest mages will rise to victory. The first round will be a preliminary test that cuts down the crowd to just the strongest few for the final choice. This means all of them will be fighting each other at once, with 100 students going head-to-head. The room is way too tight for them to fight, but the chairman doesn't worry since he uses his special power to teleport them to a whole new world. The students have no idea where they've ended up, as the ancient geyser at the very edge of space blasts them all to different places. Will is whisked away into the woods, right behind the school. Once everyone has been whisked away, the headmaster shouts that they've all been dropped into random spots. Our aim is to work together smartly and make sure we don't crush our enemies too hard. Everyone's starting spot is decided by a roll of the dice. We'll stare at the chairman in awe as the old man suddenly vanished from one spot and reappeared in another right next to him. And so, the field training exam officially begins. First, our boy jumps to a branch, casts a spell to hide from others, and slips away safely to avoid the other contestants. When he looks back, he sees 3 students facing each other in a circle. One wielded a giant earth golem that could almost be mistaken for a Pokemon, while the other girl swung a huge fairy hammer. So focused on fighting each other that they miss the third attacker, a woman who freezes them in their tracks. Will is amazed by the variety of talents other attack mages have, and realizes he can learn so much from them, not just to win first place. He is excited about what he just saw and plans to add it to his own skills. The battle is done, and the golem is the only one left standing. While everyone is cheering after an amazing victory, our hero suddenly has a crazy moment. Will slams his hands onto his head to trigger a consciousness blockade that knocks him out instantly, just like a mini version of Gojo's infinite void. This power lets Will drain his enemy's life force until they black out. But he has to hold on tight, or the whole trick will fall apart. He learned this trick from Veronica while they were training together. Lost in our own minds, we won't see the danger marching right up to us. He swerves out of the way of a hail of tiny blades and instantly realizes it's that same idiot again. This time, the kid didn't go alone. He brought his friends along. Alpus insists he's just another student taking an exam, but in this 3 versus 1 showdown, he's got the numbers on his side. Alpus pulls a knife into existence with his magic. A lackey sharpens his daggers and douses them in poison. The last minion casts a spell to make shadow copies of itself, turning into a vast army. With these poison blades, even a tiny scratch would kill our boy, so trying to block them is completely impossible. Dozens of blades suddenly fly at Will, chasing him down. As they get closer, he thinks about using magic to cure the poison, but handling all those daggers, even with a stronger body, feels like a huge hassle. With nowhere left to go, he chooses to try something totally new. Suddenly, a wall slams down in front of him, shielding Will from the flying blades. Alpus stares in shock, seeing the rocky monster he knew now kneeling before a new boss. The neat trick about recovery magic is that it can be deployed on other living creatures, so this rock golem can actually move on its own using the caster's blood. Even though it can't create complex patterns on its own, the healer can easily command it with a spell he calls pseudo-life imbuement. The golem lunges at the Skin Diana Bones trio, and first, our bad boy smashes a guy right in the chest. Next, he climbs atop another guy, likely sending him to the chiropractor with a lifetime of back pain. Once both of them are done, Pulpus starts panicking. He's finished because our guy moves like Minato Namikaze, grabs him by the face, taps him out, and the fight is done while Will goes back into stealth, and his golem takes the lead on the battlefield. Because his upgrades make him too weak to fight in close quarters, he must use a golem to cover that gap and watch everyone from a safe distance. Suddenly, a huge twister grabs his attention, feeling like a natural disaster has crashed into the forest. But no, this swirling wind is actually a real-life Kamehameha wave. It's one that our boy barely gets away with. The attack tears a scar straight into the earth, crushing the golem and all the students while knocking every tree in the area flat. From afar, Will spots a single figure standing with such serious intensity that he really does look like the main character of the story, not the guy we are currently dealing with. His scary powers make Will hesitate to fight, but the match ends quickly as the headmaster praises everyone's effort and announces that only 4 brave candidates will move on to the next round. Until the real fight begins in the arena, the chairman tells the students to rest while he casts transfer magic to move them. As the magic transfer begins, Sirius, a man of strict seriousness, gives our equally serious hero a long, hard glare. Will needs to summon enough courage to defeat that opponent before the day is over. Then both of them disappear from sight. Back home, our brainy friend is hard at work on his homework, plotting out a winning plan for the exam. Outside his door, Opus and his ragtag crew have shown up again, already furious after getting handed 50 Ls for every time they dare to challenge the healer. But Pulpus is a sore loser who cares deeply about his noble family's pride and will fight to protect the Oman name against a lowly healer. What keeps him up at night is the fear that his father will find out about everything. But his friends are too scared to join him. They ran away from him and left him to clean up his own mess. Pulpus starts panicking, then gets so angry he says he has a way to get rid of the healer without even needing magic. All this time, our boy stays cool in his room. Just then, Will hears a knock on the door in the middle of the night. He stood up to open the door and felt a terrible chill run through him. It's Alpus standing at the door, putting on a cheesy noble act to welcome him with a warm smile. Will isn't buying Will's acting, but the Golden Noble is just here to talk. He spits out his total hatred for healers and admits to trying to kick Will out of the academy, only for our hero to flip the script every single time and win outsmarting him. But now, Opulpus has stepped forward to deliver a personal message. His polite smile vanishes as he kicks the kid out of the academy, proving that his fake act was terrible all along. Will is finally giving this man's refusal to let go some serious respect. Opus acts like a proud noble and hates having healers just standing around doing nothing. Even his older brother was weak at healing, so people made fun of him, but he just grinned right back. The mages who deal damage are full of themselves, while the regular healers look like total failures. For most noble families, their lessons are a dark and painful trap. Opulus tries to use his talking skills to convince Will to leave, but Will just shakes his head and says no, refusing to quit so easily. The noble arrives ready for this and reminds everyone that he knows all about Will's family. Thanks to his servants and outside friends, the noble found out Will has a sister who shares a lovely bond with him. With just one command, his men could easily grab the boy's sister if he wanted to, and now the situation is getting much more intense. Will's usual coldness vanishes as he lunges at the guy, slamming him onto the ground with a slap. Next, he moves in from behind and grabs his arm in a way that could snap it right in half. Will tells the noble lord he's made up his mind, and even though Opulpus whines like a dog, Will cracks his arm in a snap, leaving him whimpering like a mess. The noble still wants revenge, claiming the academy will never forgive him for breaking his arm. But here's the funny part. Bro completely forgot that Will is a healer. Everything is fixed and ready to be opened up once more. A second crack shatters Opulpus, sending roaring pain through him and leaving him broken. Will fixes the arm again so the game can keep going, even as the noble begs in vain, until Will's playful, unbreakable refusal and his threat toward his sister drive Opulpus to the brink of madness with endless, shattering cracks. He now realizes that this kid isn't a healer, but modern Satan himself. So just like the instructor's reality check, the noble is forced to admit he can't work with him anymore. That night, Will sends the noble away with a warm smile, acting like nothing strange had ever occurred. Our boy sleeps with a heart full of joy, feeling not a single ounce of regret. The next day, the big tournament finally gets underway. The crowd in the arena leans in with bated breath, waiting for the match to begin. The four winners of round one are now set to face each other. One of them was Erica, who lived up to Will's high hopes by staying so quiet and guarded in her shell that she won the game without even taking a step. But something feels wrong, because Will knows this isn't the whole truth. She begs him to take it slow, but this man isn't one for half measures and plans to go all out. Erica promises to aim higher after her victory, so the two begin their epic showdown. Her first attack hits with a hot fireball. Will stand his ground to fight the fire head-on. It's just a basic fire spell, nothing fancy, and even his healing magic can fix any wounds he gets without a single worry. That small trick makes him trust Erica too much, right until he spots something truly terrifying. The spell that struck him wasn't just a blow, but a trap all along. Erica keeps her attack going, throwing one fireball after another. But the magic about her fire is that it never dies out, proving she learned the secret style from Itachi and copied his every move. Even though her shots are weak, the fight dragging on is strange and bad for him, especially since keeping him in the battle will only make the repeated hits hurt much more. This time, he asked her to cheat on the basic magic exam, and it worked just like the last time. This is why no one could get close to her, because her protective firewalls burned so hot that the flames could never be extinguished. Erica's fiery spirit shows how stubborn she is, and her quick rise in skill draws the crowd's attention, though they are there only to watch our boy lose. Suddenly, she fills with a bold, self-important air. She realized she could not only pass the preliminaries, but even knock out someone as strong as Will. Our boy casually snuffs out the flames while doubling his healing power to prepare his counterattack. She repeats the same trick, but Will is ready this time and grabs the fire to boost his own power, turning her healing flames into his own deadly fists in a brilliant move. Just as Erica was about to be defeated, she suddenly raised her hands in surrender and gave up the match. Thankfully, she walks away without a scratch. The announcer shouted that our boy had won the match. Sadly, his numbers won't improve much even after the game is over. The very people who cheered for Erica just moments ago suddenly turned on her, shouting that she was a fraud for casting that spell. She's been everyone's strong support her whole life, but now she finally breaks under the heavy weight of what they expect of her. Her dear friend pulls her up, praising her for fighting so hard. He even heals her wounds to win her heart, only to see that sweet romance shattered when Professor Bode steps on stage and declares it over. Pointing his finger at the healer, He calls Will filthy and furious that an offensive mage quit on someone like him. His harsh words so terrifying Erica that Will wonders if his instructor is really acting this way. The supervisor puffs up about his job, saying it's all about telling the truth and that he thinks people should feel happy about it. But before he walks away, he tells our boy that only one person from the tournament will truly win. That very man walks up to the healer. It's Sirius. The two of them catch a quick moment together. Sirius keeps his eyes forward, ignoring the other man as he speaks. He puts his trust only in strength and sees the world just like Instructor Bo does. The healer is fine with it, but the prodigy has one last thing to share. He respects the healer's power, yet Sirius is determined to win the match to prove his own way right, while we take a step back to look at the prodigy's amazing skills. Will remembers hearing about his past life as a powerhouse of offensive magic who is unstoppable, burning down anything that dared to stand in his way. The big showdown between Sirius and Will is finally about to start. Looking at things, our kid knows he can't get respect from the academy unless he beats the prodigy standing right here. He's out there fighting hard just to come out on top. As the final match begins, Sirius unleashes a massive twister right from his spot. The attack is so huge that Will has to dodge carefully while pushing his speed to the absolute limit to strike back. Will blasts forward at lightning speed, charging at the prodigy with everything he has. Just as he gets closer, Sirius blows a fierce wind that pushes him back. This is trouble for the healer. He has to get right up in your face to land a real hit. The two forces of nature keep their showdown going as Sirius and Will stare each other down while Sirius realizes how fast he has become. He thrusts his hand forward, unleashing a powerful blast of wind straight at his rival. Our boy realizes the tornado from before was nothing compared to this wind, which is strong enough to blow the whole area away. He fights to stay on his legs, but now it's time for his big debut. He plants his hand in the dirt, and suddenly a giant tree starts to rise from the ground. As Erica watches the healing magic work in the crowd, she realizes her strength has grown, just like when our boy showed Professor Veronica how he poured life energy into a plant to make it shoot up, a trick he planned out after studying attack spells that control nature, so he could change his fighting style. Just as suddenly, he tumbles down, but Professor Veronica grabs him and keeps him standing. He is shocked to suddenly run out of magic power because the book didn't warn him that this spell was so powerful. Veronica cracks the code, revealing that while destroying is easy, healing costs too much mana, so trying to rebuild attacks with it is the most wasteful magic she knows. Knowing what this power can do, he decides to save it for the perfect moment. Bringing it back to the present, our hero turns to this special move in battle because his attack magic isn't working well, so he decides to count on this trick instead. Once the tree reaches its full height, Sirius slashes it down with his Windblade attack. This surprises our guy because Sirius's magic is made of tornadoes that swallow enemies and storms that blow away huge areas. His wind blades are built to strike solid things, while his tornado swirls around anyone who dares to come near him. Will sees that Sirius earned his reputation as the top pick, so Will pushes his own magic to new heights and charges forward to meet him. In a flash, the opponent spins into a swirling tornado and mocks him, claiming he can never catch up no matter how hard he tries. Sure enough, he wasn't wrong. The moment our boy hit the tornado, he was tossed away. Sirius smiles, but then he realizes something is terribly wrong. He glances at his shoulder and spots a jagged piece of wood sticking right through it. Confusion is all over his face as he shouts for answers. Will proudly showed off his trick, knowing Sirius couldn't stop the plant's roots from shooting up and stabbing his shoulder. The hero wonders if he really cares about Professor Bode, since they are so different from each other. As Sirius winces in pain, he explains that the teacher pushes him because he is strong, while our brave boy keeps firing questions at the famous teacher who seems to have a bit of an ego. Sirius finally reveals the truth about his family, showing that his magical power is what truly counts. The family chose their strongest member as the leader, ignoring gender and age, which sparked a deadly power struggle where everyone fought for control and the father refused to train his own son. For Sirius, obeying the teacher is the only path to real power and strength. Then he gathers all his magic again, shocking the crowd and our hero, as a dragon takes shape and Sirius vows to end this now. As the dragon locked its gaze on him, the man finally understood that this wasn't just a game. We used to think that offensive mages had it easy, so he worked twice as hard, only to realize that raw talent isn't everything. He tells Sirius that his family, gifts, and history have all led him to this moment, and now he is ready to beat his rival in the fight. Sirius can't believe his ears at the unexpected news. Will slams his hand onto the ground to unleash his secret seed and bring the great tree Yggdrasil back to life, and it shoots up so fast it drinks up way more magic power than any other plant. The good news is it will keep growing as long as our guy keeps pouring mana into it. Sirius slashes with his wind blade, slicing the tree cleanly in two and launching it high into the air. But when he looks up, the lone branch has grown into a huge tree rushing straight at him. Wall thinks Sirius can't defend himself because his magic is busy keeping the wind dragon in the air. The guess was right, and the tree fell right on top of Sirius. As he looks up, he sees Will standing there with a knife pointed at him, and he realizes he has lost. With the crowd cheering in disbelief that Sirius lost, everyone now talks about the surprising strength the true protagonist possesses after Will is declared the winner. The hero reaches out to help Sirius stand, praising his strength, but Sirius sounds broken while our boy tries to comfort him and admit it was a great fight. Suddenly, Professor Bode strides in, looking very unhappy with Sirius. Using all his strength, he kicks the tree out from under himself, grabs the other man by the waist, drags him away in a rage that Sirius failed him, and declares that his training must start all over again. The whole crowd goes quiet, realizing how strange that sounds. Bode faces the roaring crowd, screaming that this victory was meant for everyone. But he is so furious he can't believe a real healer actually won. Will sees that Bode's bad mood is spiraling out of control. As he starts to defend Sirius by saying his strength is still good and losing doesn't make him weak, Bode snaps and angrily silences him before he can argue more. Then Bode starts walking toward our guy, sneering at the words he uses to defend Sirius. He tosses Sirius aside, calls our boy stupid, and insists that in a match, only raw strength can win. Overwhelmed by his feelings, he shouts that losing teaches you more than ever being thrown away. Will is upset because Bode is speaking so harshly about his own disciple. He starts to argue that just because Bode heals people, it doesn't mean he gets to say whatever he wants. Bode's eyes burn with rage as he tries to break our guy's spirit, shouting that he'll soon be cast aside as a useless healer. He goes even further and mocks him by showing how his mana has nearly vanished, a shocking sight that leaves our boy stunned. Bode warns that weaklings are like parasites who feed on strong people and kill them. Being called deadweight sends our boy back to a memory of getting beaten by Bode for not being strong enough. Even then, he shouted, defending his side by saying that healers keep the world balanced and save us from destruction. Bode releases him and recalls how his disciple once stood on the front line to buy time for the rear guard to flee, only to be completely wiped out by weak monsters right at the escape point. His disciple had nowhere left to turn and passed away, leaving Bode to watch in helpless despair, knowing his magic could not fix the pain. He tightens his fist and shouts that Sirius must not die for trash like that. And honestly, the professor makes sense about it. If you are weak, death is your only end, so everyone must train to survive. Yet eventually, the monsters will grow too violent to ignore. But when that happens, the strong can't afford to be selfish. In moments like that, those without natural talent must learn to fight hard too. Back in the present, our hero challenges the professor to a duel, desperate to force him to finally see him as an equal. Bode scoffs, confident that a healer could never beat him, and accepts the challenge. The referee freaks out and asks if Bode really means it, while Bode just smirks and bends the rules to fit his own plans. With no escape, the referee has to carry Sirius away. The special match between Will and Bode was announced, and before anyone could blink, the fight started. Bode snaps his fingers and boasts that he's about to prove how weak our hero really is. Will worries that the mana he has left isn't enough to face the toughest opponent he's seen in a long time. He starts making a careful plan because this fight is anything but normal. Just as he's ready to go, Bode shouts that our guy is too slow, launches his attack, and the magic spark instantly lights up the whole ground. He then boasts about the 3 reasons he taught him that will guarantee a win. As he speaks, a powerful surge of energy rolls out, explaining how his distance keeps the enemy at bay, his speed stops them from fighting back, and his strength lets him end them in one strike. Just as Bode was about to keep going, he snickered and said the main character might not be able to hear him right now. Our guy stands up again and asks where the power that ends things in a single strike is hiding. Even though our boy is hurt, he keeps standing because he knows the professor holds a special power of lightning. To survive the electric blast, he built a special blood circuit to act as a shield, because if the power hits his brain or heart directly, his healing magic won't be fast enough to save him. He stabbed his hand with his knife so that when electricity hit the blade, it would travel through his arm and legs into the ground, keeping him mostly safe. Even now, standing up to those electric shocks is nearly impossible, but it's time for our boy to strike back. He brushes him off with pity, knowing he barely survived the attack. Will starts trying to grow stronger with magic, only to quickly realize his body won't accept the extra power. Bode shows his violet lightning can freeze a victim in place, but when Will realizes he's in trouble and holds his hand up to block another hit, the arrogant Bode only wants to keep going and test just how many strikes he can take with the magic he has left. Bode unleashed his fury, sending the crowd into a shocked silence while our hero kept pushing through the pain. The professor thinks his perfect magic makes him unbeatable, but the hero won't quit. He makes up his mind that he will win. With all his last energy and magic poured into his grip, he smashes his hand down on the ground and instantly makes a water treasure tree sprout. This tree can soak up huge amounts of water from the ground and hold on to it. But fate has other plans, for Bode slashes the tree with his electric blast, sending the crowd into shock. Our boy stands frozen in shock as Bode starts walking toward him, convinced the hero has nothing left to offer. As Bode stares at the fallen tree, he watches mushrooms sprout in an instant from the lightning strike, filling him with quiet relief that his clever trick has finally worked. When lightning burns a forest into a wasteland, it clears the way for mushrooms to grow without enemies. But they offer even more than just a safe start. They also make the body go limp, and Bode feels it himself right before his eyes. He panics, and our guy jumps on the chance that the safe distance between him and his opponent is finally gone. He winds up his fist and blasts it right at Bode. But Bode slips past the blow and hits our boy right in the stomach. He shows off his fighting skills and proves his magic can make electricity do even more. He says that if he shocks his body with electricity to move faster, that paralyzing trick won't even bother him. Will lies on the ground, clutching his chest and refusing to believe he has lost. Bode throws a punch and shouts that he has won the fight. Just as he's about to strike, someone jumps in and stops him. He turns around and spots Professor Veronica standing there with her blade drawn. He tries to brush her off, telling her not to get involved since she's just a newbie. Our boy shivers from the cold, but the moment he spots Veronica, a spark of hope lights up his world. She insists the match is over and more hitting will just hurt the boy, but Bode tries to excuse himself by saying Will can heal himself since he is a healer. Veronica steps in to defend our guy, saying he's completely drained of magic because he gave everything he had in the last few duels. Bode rages and lunges at her again, convinced she's just too scared to actually fight back. Veronica lunges with her sword, and they both jump to clash, until the headmaster suddenly shows up and stops their fight. He steps in front of them to stop Bode from moving forward and tells Veronica sorry for not explaining things sooner. He shouts that the test is over and tells everyone to get out. Just as the students start to leave, our guy tries to fix himself, but it doesn't work. With no magic left to use, Veronica picks Will up and tells him he did a great job. She pushes him to stop and take a break before he burns out. But these promises don't feel like enough to him. The next day, he strolled through the school, deep in thought about how power really changed everything. It still leaves him puzzled that humanity could vanish despite having such powerful people, so he decides to grow even stronger. Will walks into the room to find the headmaster overjoyed at his return, and after seeing that Will's wounds have healed so quickly thanks to his returning mana, the headmaster listens as our boy explains just how fast the recovery happened. The headmaster thinks Will breeze through the field training, which really shocks me. He then went on to say that Will earned his spot by taking first place, and since he did, so did Sirius and Erica. Will demands an answer because Bode just said everyone failed, but the headmaster reveals that this panic happens every year to test their seriousness before most are cleared. Because field training was so dangerous, Bode had to pretend to be a tough teacher, and even though he was mean, it worked out. In his past life, Bode stood on the front lines as a hero who fought to save humanity from dying out. The headmaster pushes Will to team up with students from other schools to take on real monsters, a terrifying first for him. It was the very monsters that destroyed humanity in his past life. Some creatures with magic are called monsters, but not every monster comes to hurt people. Some might bite us, but they usually only do it to stay alive. If scientists had studied these creatures properly, they could have been friends instead of foes, but in 2 years when the red moon rises to make monsters savage, a new super monster alliance will unite to wipe out all of humanity. Then, 2 years after the disaster, the demon king himself will come down to the world. This chain of events leaves humanity with no chance, leading to crumbling nations and endless deaths, where both attacking and healing mages get slaughtered on the battlefield until no one is left to save the wounded. By the time the hero finally passes away in his past life, there are almost no humans left who can fight, and if life continues exactly as it is, mankind will not survive. He simply can't let that terrible thing happen again. He promises to train harder than ever before in his past life, so he can stop the giant monsters from coming. He digs deeper to find out why the red moon made the monsters go crazy, hoping to stop the whole disaster at its source. The headmaster sees the fire in his eyes and is completely amazed by it. He sees promise in Will's actions and starts to worry if the teachers are being too careful for the upcoming field training. The headmaster promises that everything needed to keep him safe is already ready. Yet, he makes sure to tell Will that his biggest goal is to help him grow. Later, standing outside campus with Veronica, Bode storms up to Will, yells at him one more time, and walks away after telling him to give his all during training. Just as he turns to leave, he quietly thanks Will for his kindness to Sirius. And Sirius, who had been watching from behind, steps forward to thank Will right back. He says he can finally fix his weak spots and become stronger than ever before. As long as he is alive, he will eventually take his revenge, and this time, it will not vanish into smoke. The main character pushes him to get even tougher, and they bump fists to show they agree. For Will, the rise of stronger attack mages feels like a gift, since they will be the perfect allies for the battles to come against the monsters. Not long after, they leave in a carriage. After a while, they are told that the Dunnel Forest is coming close, and that the training plan will be checked in a moment. Veronica tells us they'll be battling goblins on a special mission in the Dunnel Forest. She leads 3 students from Schwartz, Heilish, and Gilburn, then tells Will he'll be starting a 4-person team with a teacher, while Erica asks if the group is set and gets reassured that Veronica will be right there with her. Even though Erica feels scared of Veronica, she'd rather face her than end up with a stranger. After a while, they were told they had made it. As they exit the carriage, Veronica sees that the Gilburn students have already arrived at the spot. He thinks back to his old life and realizes he knew very few people. Right then, a girl sprints up to Will and wraps her arms around him, shouting that she's finally met the guy she's been waiting to see. The protagonist panics, completely lost on who she could be. She quickly introduces herself as Marie Goldrand, the principal of Schwartz Academia and granddaughter of Alnram Goldrand. The hero stands frozen, his mind flashing back to the girl he once visited at the principal's house, never imagining he would find her standing right here in the forest. Seeing her again makes him worry about her, but she quickly tells him she's been doing just fine. Before long, she starts apologizing and saying she never got to thank him properly back then, so she insists on doing something for him in return, even though he casually waves it off as no big deal. She admitted she had no magic talent, so she went to Gilburn Academy to train herself in the art of sword fighting. Because she never stopped trying, she became the top student in the academy's final exam. She giggles when she sees how impressed the hero looks. He is truly touched by her success, especially since she went from being stuck in bed just a few months ago to reaching the very top so quickly. She takes his hand and explains that they were placed in the same party because of their special talents, promising to do her best to be useful to him. In that moment, he finally understood exactly what the principal meant when he said to take care of her. Before he could think about it anymore, she suddenly pulls him along to welcome the students who just got back from the Hillich. Watching from the side, Veronica and Erica can't believe how happy and friendly the two of them look together. Marie steps out of Hillich's carriage and asks if Yulin and Turf are inside. Soon Yulin steps out calmly, saying there's no need to rush. He cheerfully greets everyone as their party's teacher, revealing that Olin from Hilo Academia was once the greatest healing mage in Will's past life. Will felt a true joy wash over him when he realized he was finally on the same team as him. After that, Turf steps out of the carriage and Marie introduces herself, but he freezes when he sees them holding hands. So, naturally, he asks to meet the main character. Will speaks his name, and Turf instantly guesses he's an attack mage. Yulin tells the students they can do whatever they want as long as he keeps an eye on them. The students were shocked when they saw him so relaxed. Will approaches Olin to ask if he can be his master, explaining that while he can heal, he has never had a teacher to help him get better, so he wants to learn from Ulan. Ulan mentions that he knows about Will and quickly offers to teach him healing magic. Marie chases after them, demanding the right to call Olin master if Will is going to do it. Veronica watches from the side and sees the party is going well. When a mission to bring them under control is finally given, everyone knows they must use a hut as their home base. Deep in the forest where goblins lurk, Ulan, Marie, and Will rush off immediately, while the healing mage Turf stays at the base to keep safe from the front lines. As they head toward where the goblins appear, Marie wonders if Will is truly willing to just heal others while fighting right in the front. He calmly reassures her not to worry, explaining that he will take charge as their supervisor so they can fight freely while he watches over everything. And trusting his words, they both agree to follow his loose rules. They jump straight into chasing down the goblins. Marie sweeps her blade through the air in one quick move, taking out the whole bunch of goblins at once. He stares in disbelief at the woman he once saw lying in bed, unable to believe she is standing right in front of him now. Next, Marie, the blonde girl, slashes down the goblins with mighty swings of her sword. When Will spots her, he's shocked to see she can clear the area by herself, just as more goblins start showing up. Noticing the blonde girl shines when charging alone but falters against the crowd, her mentor Rin tells our hero to step in and help her, sparking the hero's excitement since it's been so long since he faced any monsters. With a burst of magic, he springs forward and slashes at the goblins with terrifying speed. After a hard-fought victory, he admires the razor-sharp knife Professor Venerika gave him, while the blonde is stunned by Will's skill as their mentor declares the day's work done and tells them to head back, only for the blonde to realize she feels surprisingly light because the mentor just healed her wounds. He finally sees that the mentor's real power is his recovery magic, so easy he often forgets it's even happening. Even though the world doesn't know it, he's sure his mentor is the greatest healer alive, and every night they head back to their rest house. A boy named Turf felt a wave of relief, seeing everyone safe, knowing no one had been hurt on today's mission. The blonde girl admits her mentor is a great healer, but she can't figure out why he also knows so much about fighting in the front lines. The mentor shows that the front lines are where most people get hurt, so by helping them right there, he naturally learns a lot as time goes on. Turf adds that the mentor keeps hopping from place to place, so he can hardly hold on to a regular class. Hearing this, the hero realizes his mentor never shies away from danger to save lives, and understands that losing someone so brave would be a terrible loss for everyone. He knows there is still time before the mentor dies. But to break that curse, the hero vows that this time, it will never happen again. While the family enjoys a quiet night at home, a group of goblins hides away to plot their next evil plan. After that, the hero and his friends set off again to fight the goblins. Using what they learned in past fights, their teamwork gets better, but during one normal raid, Mentor Rin suddenly orders everyone to go home. The hero feels confused by